Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Meet the Candidates Night for Penfield Central School District. I'm Lynn Scott, the District Clerk, and on behalf of the district, I'm happy to announce that we have 6 candidates running for 3 open seats on the Board of Education. I'd like to thank all the candidates for being here so the community can hear their views. Special thanks to Dave and Brian at PCTV, and thanks also to our moderator, Amy Thomas, who is the Executive Director of the Monroe County School Boards Association. I'll turn it over to Amy so we can begin.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to this evening's Meet the Candidate Night in Penfield. I am the Executive Director of Monroe County School Boards Association, and I'm honored to be the moderator of our discussion this evening. The candidate questions were submitted through the Penfield Advisory Board by community members. As the moderator, I adjusted and/or grouped questions as necessary to ensure most topics are addressed within the allotted time for the evening. I want to personally thank Lynn Scott for her assistance in coordinating the logistics for this event. Not an easy task, I can tell you. This year, the annual Penfield Central School District budget vote and school board election will be held on Tuesday, May 20th from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. at the Penfield High School West Gym, 25 High School Drive. This year, as Lynn mentioned, we have 6 candidates this evening running for 3 seats. Their names in ballot order: Dr. Sarah Price, Pace, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
So sorry. Dr. Emily Roberts, James Ashby, Nate Chenenko, Dr. Scott Wilson, and Susan Gilbert-Collins. Serving as a member of the Board of Education is an honor and a responsibility. This community entrusts its school board with very important duties. Board members must provide for the education of the community's children. They must see that the property and finances of the district are properly managed, and they must ensure that the many laws governing education are followed. The community elects their school board members. They are local officials who serve without pay and give hundreds of hours to their duties each year. Each candidate will have an opening statement of up to 2 minutes long in ballot order, so Sarah will start us off, followed by Emily, James, Nate, Scott, and Susan. After that, I will ask questions that candidates will have a turn to answer first. Answers should not exceed 2 minutes. There's a timer in front of us. Many of you at home cannot see it, but our candidates, I can assure you, do see it. This timer will tell them in the allotted time when 30 seconds is up. The screen will turn yellow, and as it gets closer to the 0 mark, it'll turn red. That is your indication to stop. After the question and answer portion of the presentation, candidates will be able to make a closing statement of not more than 2 minutes. Those summations will be made in reverse order from the opening statements. So it's now time to begin the opening statements, and we'll begin with Sarah.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Sarah Pace. I'm a parent, wife of a teacher in the district, and someone who deeply cares about the future of our schools. I'm running for a seat on the board because I believe we owe it to our children and to our community to ensure that every decision we make is driven by what's best for our students, our families, and our teachers. As a parent, I've seen firsthand both strengths and challenges in our schools. I believe we need to prioritize academic excellence, making sure our students are not just meeting standards but truly prepared for the future, whether that means a college, a career, or another path. That means strong curriculum, high expectations, and real support for both students and teachers in the classroom. I believe we need to reevaluate the equitable grading practices that have been implemented this year. They are lowering standards and expectations of the students, inflating grades, and failing to hold students accountable. We must prioritize rigorous standards and merit-based grading to ensure students are prepared for their future. It is our responsibility to provide programs and pathways that create equal opportunities for everyone, not equal outcomes. Teachers are the backbone of our schools and should be the primary decision makers for our students. We need to have more respect for their expertise and support them with the tools and resources they need to lead and excel in their roles. I'm also a big believer in transparency. Parents and community members deserve to know how decisions are made, where our money is going, and what really is happening in our schools. I will always advocate for clear communication, open dialogue, and honest answers. And finally, I believe we must be fiscally responsible. Our schools are funded by hardworking families, and we need to make sure every dollar is being spent wisely and with good intention. That means cutting waste, investing in what matters most, and always keeping the focus on the students. I'm a parent ready to listen, ask questions, and work hard for the families in this district. I want to bring common sense, academic excellence, and community-first approach to the board. I would be honored to have your support.
Thank you, Sarah. Emily?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Emily Roberts. I am running to keep my seat on the school board because I believe every student deserves access to a high-quality, inclusive education that prepares them for a successful future. I am committed to continuing the important work of supporting our educators, empowering families, and making thoughtful, student-centered decisions that strengthen our schools and our community. With 6 years of experience, 3 years of board leadership, I believe I have demonstrated the ability to collaborate with others, even when we hold differing opinions. I believe in leading with respect, listening with intention, and upholding the integrity of the board's responsibility to our students, our staff, and our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. James?
Hi, my name's James Ashby. As a parent and community member and an active advocate for our schools, I'm running for the Board of Education to refocus our efforts and rebuild Penfield's reputation of academic excellence, to strengthen the partnership between families, our schools, our leadership, and ensure that our students and teachers are supported by transparent and responsible decision-making. My wife and I have always been deeply involved in our children's education, working closely with teachers, support staff, administrators to identify challenges and create opportunities for success. We've seen firsthand what works and where things may have gone off track. In the past, working with the district felt collaborative and constructive. As I stated last year and continue to see, is that it has become harder to follow what's being taught, how it's being taught, why key decisions are being made. Communication often comes off as impersonal, defensive, and overly controlled, and as a parent, I find that deeply concerning. I also know through countless conversations with other families that we're not alone in this experience. In my professional career, where only the final results are the measure of true success, I've led a number of complex projects where balancing the needs and expectations of many different stakeholders was critical to obtaining the most successful outcome. Regardless of the size of the project, the budget, the number of stakeholders, or the views of the stakeholders, what has consistently driven my success is clear communication, building trust across the team, and ensuring everyone had the resources and support they need to perform at their best. I don't believe a leader needs to be the expert in every task. Instead, a good leader knows how to recognize strengths, support growth, and bring people together toward a common goal. I've always believed that leadership is not about being in the spotlight. It's about empowering others and letting outcomes speak for themselves. I'm running to bring transparency, accountability, and common sense decisions back to how Penfield educates its students. I will always listen, always respect differing viewpoints, and always work towards a greater good.
Thank you, James. Nate?
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much to Lynn and Amy for being our moderators tonight, and thanks to everybody who's taken time out tonight or to watch the recording in the future. I'm going to do things a little bit differently. I'm going to tell you what I'm not first. I'm not an educator. Our board is stocked with lovely, wonderful, talented educators, and I'm not an educator. I'm a strategy consultant, and I'm also not an aggrieved parent. I don't have big sweeping changes that I'd like to see the board make. I am really happy with what we've been getting from the Penfield education system. I've got 3 issues that are on my list among all of the other topics that I'm sure we'll talk about today. The first is the budget. People have already mentioned the budget. I want to look at the budget from a different perspective and see, are we truly optimized across all of the areas that we're spending money? Are we making the best investments into the future? And I'm sure we'll have a chance to get more into those details as time goes on. The second item on my list is access to extracurricular activities. And we heard from Emily, we want to make sure that students have equal access, and I feel extremely strongly about that. I think the district and the school system do a great job providing equal access within the walls of the school during the school day, but I know that there are probably opportunities where we can make sure that kids who don't have the time to get to a sports practice, cannot afford to go to a game or buy the equipment, have access to those opportunities. Also holds true for other extracurriculars like arts, music, robotics, whatever those may be. The third item on my list is open and honest communication with the board and the community. And Sarah brought this up nicely in her opening statement. I think there is a way to provide open communication in a safe and respectful manner, and we need to explore all of our opportunities there. Thank you.
Thanks, Nate. Scott.
Hello, my name is Scott Wilson, and I am deeply devoted to education and the future of our children. I am a father, a physician, and a citizen that cares about our community. I have lived in the Penfield School District for 8 years, moving here in large part for the excellent schools. I strongly support public education and want to help ensure that every child gets an equitable and exceptional opportunity to achieve all their goals in school, both academically and socially. As a father of 2 children who are just starting elementary school, I want to do as much as I can to help them along as they begin their scholastic journey. I think that public service is important and want to demonstrate to my children how to engage in civil service in a healthy and constructive manner. I believe that education is a right for all children. It is up to all of us to give the students the support they need to realize their potential in school, as well as giving the tools that they will need to succeed throughout life. I have faith in educational experts, but also know that every child may face different challenges that will require an agile team of teachers, counselors, principals, and other support staff. Attracting and supporting our talented teachers should be one of our primary goals. Teachers work hard and often put up with unfair scrutiny, all for pay that does not raise to the demand of the work they put in. It is important that we give them fair financial compensation, but also make sure that they feel safe and emotionally supported. Ultimately, my goal is to make sure that our district, which is already among the best in the county, continues to improve and meet the ever-changing needs of our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Susan.
Thank you to Amy Thomas and Lynn Scott for doing this tonight, and for everyone behind the scenes, and especially thanks to everyone watching who cares enough to pay attention and make an informed decision when voting. I'm Susan Gilbert-Collins, and I've been many things in my life that give me valuable experience for board work. I've been an avid student. I was the kid who raised my hand to remind the teacher we were supposed to have a quiz, so apologies to my former classmates. I've been an ESL teacher at the college level, where I loved teaching and loved my students and learned just how incredibly hard teachers work. I've been a writer since I was 12, a published novelist since I was 43, and for over 25 years, I've also been an independent contractor who writes standardized reading test items and passages for a number of different state tests, though not currently in New York. And for 19 years, I've been first and foremost a parent of 2 children, one a PHS grad who's now in college and another in Bay Trail. 16 years ago, my husband and I moved to Penfield because of the terrific school district, and we would do it all over again. We've been so grateful for the teachers, school nurses, counselors, lunch staff, librarians, administrators, everyone who's helped our kids to thrive. Now I want to join the school board to help ensure policies are fair and support the whole child, that resources are allocated wisely, and that every decision supports our students, staff, and community. We need people on the board who will listen to different perspectives and work well as a team. I'd love to put my academic background, teaching and testing experience, and creativity to work for this district. Our diverse points of view can make us stronger as long as we listen to each other. I believe all of us also share one very important starting point. We want the best for our kids. I'd love the chance to help ensure that every child is safe, supported, and has equal access to what Penfield can offer.
Thank you, Susan. So it's now time to move on to our question and answer portion of the evening. A reminder that your answers again should not exceed 2 minutes. When there are 30 seconds remaining in your allotted time, you will see on the screen that it'll turn yellow, and when your time is up, it will turn red. I just kindly ask that you stop when it turns red. Each candidate will have the opportunity to answer questions first on a rotating basis, and feel free to have any one of the questions asked again, or repeated, I should say. So we will begin with Sarah Pace. Sarah, the question is, what qualifications and experiences would you bring to the Board of Education that would help build trust and promote transparency with both your fellow board members and the greater Penfield community?
I think some of the strengths that I have is being a business owner, that I know how to manage budgets, make tough decisions, and I think strategically long-term goals by staying accountable. And I think people that know me well trust me. They know that I have the best interest for all of my patients, all of my family, all of my friends. I only want to do what's best for everyone, and I would be doing that as a board member, looking at every child and making sure they're getting everything that they need to succeed in the next stage of life for them. I'm an open book. People can ask me questions. I will tell you, I have nothing to hide, and I'm willing to be transparent. Like I said in my opening statement, I think that is one of the biggest things we're lacking right now in our community, is that there's a lack of trust amongst our parents with our current administration and board members. So I want to try to bring that back. I think we need a balance. I think right now we need different perspectives onto the board, and I'm willing to work, like Susan said, we all have the common goal of these children. If we keep that in the forefront, I think we can learn to come to the middle. I think the two extremes are not good, and sometimes, unfortunately, that's what's the loudest in our community, and we need to bring that back to the center, and I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to listen to others, collaborate, and just do what's best for our children and for our teachers, because I think that's also important. I think our teachers are struggling right now in the district. Their voices aren't being heard, and they're scared to speak out, so I want to be a voice for them as well.
Thank you, Sarah. Same question for you, Emily.
Can you repeat the question, please?
I sure can. What qualifications and experiences would you bring to the Board of Education that would help build trust and promote transparency with both your fellow board members and the greater Penfield community?
Sure, thank you. So as a teacher, an educator of 23 years, I have spent my entire career advocating for my students, knowing that it's really important for every student to feel seen, heard, supported. I think that is one of the things that we stress as our current board. We are student-centered, so we make sure that students are our main focus, and every decision that we make is keeping the students' best interests in mind. I am also a parent with a PHS graduate, a high school student, as well as an elementary student. During my 6 years as a board member, I've learned to work with many different people. As I said in my opening statement, we all have differing opinions, but when it comes to what is best for the students, we share that one voice, and we make sure that, we keep students first. We, this year, worked on transparency, so making sure that the decisions that we make, that we are letting people know the reasoning why we made those decisions. Some of the decisions that we have made, unfortunately, had to be made on with short notice to the public, and that is something that the board is working through, and we have plans as to what we are going to do next year. So I think that, with all of the things that we are doing and making sure that we keep our students at the center and forefront, we want to continue. I want to continue that work because I feel that we have so much more to offer our students and our district.
Thank you, Emily.
You're welcome.
James, same question?
For me, I think trust starts with communication, two-way communication. I think it starts with listening and then taking in information and using that appropriately. As everybody knows, I ran last year and I stayed active for a full year. Through that year, I built a lot of good relationships with people throughout the community who have trusted me with their opinions, their information, their thoughts, and their needs for the district. And I've learned and adjusted a lot through that. I think those relationships that I've built already on trust will lead me to make a quick change and make quick improvements to the district. In my professional career, I work with numerous stakeholders from all levels of executive management down to operators and that, building trust across the wide range of needs, sets, understanding, skills, and working with different people day in and day out has helped me learn how to build trust with every level across many views. Yeah, I think that's about it.
Okay. Thanks, James. Nate, same question.
Yeah, your question's really talking about qualifications, and I will introduce myself. I'm a strategy consultant, and there is like nothing worse than when a strategy consultant comes in with no outside perspective, spends 3 weeks, tells you everything that you're doing wrong, and then leaves before you can fix it. And I have learned that that is not the way to operate here. I bring a strategic perspective. One of the things that I've learned personally and professionally is that the items that are happening on the ground may be symptomatic of a root cause, an underlying issue that is deeply important, and unless you fix the root cause, unless you cure the disease, the symptoms won't go away. So I can bring that higher level perspective. That's part of the qualifications that I bring to the board. Another item that many people have touched on is that in order to do that, you have to be collaborative. That sort of stereotypical bad consultant who comes in and tells you what to do and leaves, that's not a collaborative person. And I have learned to be a very collaborative person. And I think particularly in this environment, collaboration is absolutely critical here. I can have all the opinions that I want, but if I cannot communicate with my colleagues on the board, faculty, staff members, other administrators, and also students and parents, it's just not going to work. So being able to apply a strategic perspective, but also collaborate with everybody in the educational community to bring their perspectives in as well, that's my qualification for the board.
Thank you, Nate. Scott, same question.
As far as qualifications, I am a family physician, and honesty is one of the main things about being a doctor. You have to be honest with people about their health so they can make informed decisions, try to make themselves better. So me speaking my mind, me being open and honest with people is something that comes second nature, and I hope that I can earn people's trust as I talk to them over the next few weeks. I also am a parent of 2 young children just entering the school system, so I have a lot of incentive to try to do this right and to try to do right by everyone and all students. I think that communication, as other people have said, is one of the most important ways to gain trust. I think that we have to do a really good job listening to the community, and I think we have to do a good job, answering them in as much detail as we can and being honest with our answers. And I think that over time, you'll find that I can do that. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Susan.
I think I'm a big listener. I'm a big believer in listening, and as James said, that's a two-way street. Communication is a two-way street, and I think I'm very strong as a listener and as a communicator, and I like to find common ground, and I'm committed to that. I'm capable of changing my mind based on facts and evidence. I like to really know, what the situation is and have conversations, and I think we have to have an open mind and listen to each other. We're never going to all agree on everything, right? But the important thing is, can we collaborate and work it out together? And I think that anyone who knows me would say that I'm an absolutely trustworthy and compassionate person, and I actually am like taking care of people and situations. At the same time, I really like to get things done. I think I'm a good problem solver, and I really like to find creative solutions, and let's not just talk about it forever. Let's actually get things done. So I think some of that's come through work experience, but a lot of it has come through parenting, that you learn to be flexible, and the communication is so important. You also learn sometimes you need to hold the line. Decisions have to be made. So all of that, I think, are strengths that I would bring to the board.
Thank you, Susan. Okay, on to the second question. For the next question, we'll begin with Emily. Penfield High School has a strong reputation. What can be done to maintain that excellence while looking for ways to improve?
Well, I think Penfield does have a great reputation. I think that currently working on providing different opportunities for our students for their growth. I know that at the high school level, we are looking at providing more advanced placement opportunities. That is one way I believe that students are able to explore and to grow. We have this year provided the AP placement, the AP course, the test, free of charge. So the district is paying for the test so that students are able to take those courses and learn and not feel that they have the constraints of paying for the AP exam. I also feel, just as Scott said, providing more opportunities, more extracurricular, actually I believe it was Nate, more extracurricular opportunities for students so that they are able to really explore and find out what it is that they enjoy. I know the district is, interested in providing those opportunities. So if a student has an interest in a club, they just need to reach out to the administrator and let them know that that is something of interest, and they will look to bring that forward into the school. So I think more of that, just listening to our students, listening to families, but also listening to the teachers who are here every day and who are working with our students, and giving them the opportunity to give advice and what they feel would provide more opportunities for our students and growth.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Emily. James, same question.
Kind of an odd question that I want to expand on it, right? So Penfield High School is part of Penfield School District. Penfield School District has a good reputation, right? We all moved here. I think all of us mentioned at some point we all moved here because of the reputation of Penfield. Expanding on that, right? There's many things we have a reputation for, right? Academics, athletics, and our workforce environment, right? All those various reputations equal what is Penfield School District. When you're talking about academics, right? Everybody knows I hammer on academics and I follow the data. For the reputation that we had, I'd like to regain that reputation as not one or two or three in the county, right? I want to be back to top 10% in the state. As you pick through the data and do this, the trends of where we are at and where we're going coming out of COVID versus now, comparing to neighboring districts, that's the reputation in terms of academics that I want to regain. Athletics, right? We're doing a great job in athletics. I want to make sure that our athletics, our coaches there's I think 1,900 student athletes in our district, so that's almost half, right? I want to make sure our athletic reputation stays strong. We built a beautiful facility out here. I want to make sure that we keep expanding athletics, and as we said, all extracurricular activities, right? That matters. Not everybody's an athlete, right? We talked about the robotics and all this. There's a lot of ways we can support athletics and extracurriculars. And the one that really stands out to me is the workforce environment, right? Our reputation as an employer really matters to everything that we do here. And I want to make sure that we have the best reputation as an employer to attract the top level candidates, teachers, admins, everybody that come here and stay. I think that's critical to what keeps Penfield's reputation good.
Thank you, James. Nate?
I'm going to attempt to apply a strategic perspective as I plan to do on the board. I think excellence is a pretty tricky word to define. Some people are defining excellence as access to opportunities. That's one example of excellence. Some people are defining excellence as test scores or athletic performance. That's another example of excellence. I've got a slightly different definition. Every year, students enter and students are educated in the system. And each of those students has a slightly different set of needs. For some of those students, they may need access to AP courses. Some of those students may need access or want access to athletics or extracurricular activities, which I also feel very strongly about. My opinion about maintaining and improving excellence is really understanding where is each child right now and how can we get them to improve. Whether that means their test score is a little bit better or their athletic performance is a little bit better, we've got to have a good balance there. We can't just be producing athletes. We can't just be producing musicians. We also can't just be producing top test scores. So I think it is really individualized and make sure that we're promoting an environment of excellence for each student that they can succeed in. I want them leaving better tomorrow than they were today, better next year than they were last year, and better at the end of their career when they graduate the high school than they were when they walked in. That's my definition of excellence.
Thanks, Nate. Scott?
Okay. How do we improve? I don't believe there's any one way to improve. I think if you ask 4 different people, like we just saw, you're going to get 4 different answers. So I think from the point of view of, from the board, what can we do to improve Penfield, it's all about being responsive to the ever-changing needs of the community. I've had several parents just in the past few weeks come up to me with various things that they're worried about, and they've all been different. And I think it's our job to listen to everyone's issues, be they big or small, and try to address them the best we can. And I think through these incremental changes, we're going to slowly, make our way to a better place. That ultimate target will always change because society changes. So we're always going to have to be making these small changes and just moving with the times. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Susan?
So when we think about excellence, we tend to think about academics first. And people have mentioned different things that are so important, including athletics, including the whole child, which is important. Penfield does have a reputation for excellence in academics, and I think we have to be extremely careful to assert that we've gone up or down, because based on testing, for example, you can't draw any conclusions from the data right now. We went to computer-based testing just a year ago. You cannot compare the computer-based tests with the previous tests. Also, we are using different standards than we used to. We used to be Common Core, and pretty recently we went over to the next generation standards. You cannot compare those tests soundly. And I mean, nobody in testing would make that claim. And also, we have the highest rate of kids opting out of standardized tests in the whole area. I think we have a very high rate, and I fully support parents' right to have their kids opt out. I think that's a great option. My kids are apparently the only ones who ever have to take the test. They've told me this every year. We had that conversation, and that's fun. But you have to be really careful when this many kids are now opting out to draw conclusions that we're going up or down. Is Penfield going down academically? Maybe. Are they going up? Maybe, just as likely. And I think that there's a lot of, we offer so much in high school. AP opportunities, like Emily mentioned. There's a bilingual award you can win now, which is fantastic. My son took AP Music Theory that prepared him for studying in a music conservatory. So I want to keep all of those excellent different opportunities going as much as we can, in addition to the academics.
Thanks, Susan. And Sarah?
So things that I think we're doing excellent in our district is we have excellent teachers, staff, and TAs, and I want to do whatever we can to keep those teachers and staff because they are the backbone of our education. Like everyone mentioned, the extracurricular activities are amazing. I think every kid has an opportunity. My family, it's athletics. It's provided them with, learning how to do teamwork and just become a part of something, having things that they need to accomplish, and then also the concerts, the musicals, that's robotics. I mean, we have everything for these kids, and I think that's great. What I think we need to improve on is the equitable grading. Like I mentioned in my opening statement, I do think it is lowering standards and our expectations of our students, and it's not allowing them to be accountable. And we need to prepare them for the future, because when they get into the workforce, college, this is not going to be the same. And I think we really need to make sure we reassess that and do what's best for these kids.
Thanks, Sarah. Okay, question number 3, we're moving along to James. How do you approach disagreement when encountered by a voice or opinion that differs from your own? And how would you handle a board policy you personally disagree with?
Yeah, so obviously being an advocate, right, an open advocate out in the public eye, I get a lot of criticisms, right? I get a lot of emails, a lot of communications challenging my views. And I accept those, I listen, right? I'm inherently curious as to how they came to such a different view at times, and I want to learn, right? Handling disagreements it's just part of being an adult. It's part of being in a society, right? I think I've said it many times, we have lost the skill set to agree to disagree, right? We're either all over here or all over there, or you're part of that bucket or that group. And I think that's part of the issue why we can't have open and honest conversations, right? I say something and that means that I'm over there, or Nate says something and all of a sudden he's over there. We got to be able to have communication, thoughtful, continuing communication, and most importantly when we disagree. In terms of board policies, the board policies should be designed for the students, for the community, for the teachers, for our employees, for everybody except for the board, right? The board is there to provide the resources, the tools, and the structure needed to support everybody else. So if I disagree with a board policy, that probably means that I don't think it's serving the community, the teachers, the students, or the district. And I would just bring that up. In order for it to be a board policy, we all had to agree on it. And if I disagree and I get overridden, so be it.
Thanks, James. Nate?
Yeah, the question had 2 parts. The first was, how do you approach disagreement? And then how do you approach board policies with which you disagree? How I approach disagreement is understanding the different perspectives. I've talked a lot, and sort of my uniqueness, I think, is my different perspective. And that forces me to be open to other people's perspectives. There's so many cases that I can think of where I or other people have come to a snap decision, said, oh, based on the limited set of facts that I have, that policy looks silly, that policy looks bad, that decision looks poor or improperly researched. It's really important to me to find all of the facts and work to understand the other side of those positions. Even if I don't change my mind, I find that so helpful in empathizing with the person who I disagree with. I think I would apply that same exact philosophy to board policy disagreements, where as a new board member, I don't know all the policies. I'll readily admit that. Before I just say, I disagree, we should change the policy, I want to understand, why do we have the policy? When was this put in place? What issues were present at the time that caused us to have this policy? Are those issues still present? What facts on the ground support that policy? What facts on the ground support changing that policy? And to do all of that in a collaborative manner and come to that agreement, I think that would be an effective way to manage disagreements by improving our perspective.
Thanks, Nate. Scott?
Yeah, so disagreements. I think the main thing is we just listen to each other. We do our due diligence explaining our sides. We get all sides. We try to find a common ground, starting from there and working our way out. And ultimately, the board will vote. And however that goes, I think I would be able to deal with that. I'd be disappointed sometimes, but in democracy, you don't always get your way. And ultimately, it's not about us getting our way. It's about helping the kids. So I don't think there'll be any problem with me having disagreements with other people or handling it in a poor way. I think it's just about talking to each other, finding common ground, working out from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Susan?
So far, everyone sounds wonderful. And I think listening is right at the top. We have to listen when we disagree. And one of my first thoughts is, tell me more. Tell me more about your point of view, and I'll tell you more about mine. And I'm very sensitive, I think, to when other people are not being heard. I think I advocate for what were you going to say? What do you bring to this discussion? Because I want to hear from everyone. I think another thing that I bring that can be very helpful in disagreements is a sense of humor. That can really go a long way, both just for my own attitude myself and a sense of humor about myself, but generally I think that can really help with discussions that might be difficult. Ultimately, we're not all going to agree on things, and as Scott said, there's a vote, and you have to go with that on the board. You don't get to have an individual voice after that. I think if I were struggling with a decision that I thought was really problematic, I would certainly talk to the superintendent and to the individual board members, which you can do. You can talk amongst yourselves, and I think that's really important. At the same time, the confidentiality of those board meetings is that's written in stone. That's not a choice. So I think to be trusting one another, even when we disagree, we have to know that we're going to be trustworthy and keep things confidential. But I think more discussion is always valuable, and I'm expecting to not always get my way. Like Scott said, it's a democracy, and we go with what's best for the kids according to the vote.
Thank you. Sarah?
So if you ask my husband how I approach disagreements, he'll say my vein pops out and I start yelling. But in reality, obviously, we live in a world where no one's going to agree on everything, and I think we have to come back to agree to disagree with things. And just like everyone else said, listen to other people's perspectives, ask questions, and try to come to some common ground. And when it comes to the board, we need to just put the kids and the teachers first, and hopefully we can come to the middle and not stay on those extremes. But I think that's going to be our best approach.
Thanks, Sarah. Emily?
Sure. So as a board member, we listen a lot. There are a lot of people with a lot of different opinions. And so our job is to listen to all of those opinions, whether it be through email, whether it be during public comment, whether it be with our neighbors, whether it be, when we're at Wegmans. We hear a lot of different viewpoints from the community, and our job is really to listen. I think that's how we really know what's important to families, is by listening, and so we do that a lot. As a board, we also talk through everything that we've heard, so we share with each other everything that we've heard from community members, which is important when we make those decisions. We don't always agree as a board, and so we work through that as well. We like to keep students first, so we feel that as long as we are keeping students first, we are doing our job, right? And so we can put our own opinions to the side to make sure that the students are getting everything that they need. As far as policy goes, the policies that are created, they are looked at every year or every 5 years. There's a cycle and reviewed, and we go by policy. So regardless of how we feel about the policy, we have to follow what the policy states. So we just make sure that we explain that to community members, and we like to follow that policy. If someone disagrees, there are procedures to do or for them to take if they disagree with policy, and that is okay too. Thank you.
Thanks, Emily. Okay, the next question, we're going to begin with Nate. How should Penfield address pandemic-related learning loss while continuing to challenge students who are progressing at or above grade level? What is your commitment to supporting all students, including advanced and gifted students?
There's a few other people at the table who have made insightful comments on this matter, and I would say the theme of today's discussion so far is listening. Susan has mentioned this repeatedly. Susan also mentioned, hey, we don't really know what the test scores say, and I certainly don't. So I can't comment on whether there was pandemic learning loss or not. Maybe there was, maybe there wasn't. In the spirit of listening, Sarah has also made some really good points about accountability. That's really important to me as well. I think we need to have an academic environment that holds everybody accountable. wherever they are on that spectrum that you mentioned, ranging from super high performing people who are like our most gifted and talented students, as well as all of the rest of the students who are in a public school system and deserve all of those same opportunities. We should be holding students accountable for their performance. That doesn't necessarily look the same for every student, but I strongly believe that accountability is really important. We're here in part to make sure the grades get up, in part to make sure people have opportunities, and in part to make sure that they are prepared for their future. And accountability is not going away. It does not get lesser as you age. And so promoting accountability there is helpful. Let's relate that back to the pandemic learning loss. If there is pandemic learning loss, I think that greater accountability could address some of those losses to the extent that they're related to how much we're willing or able to push students. There may be some other losses or some other gains in other areas that I'm not totally aware of. We've got to figure out, hey, what is the root cause? Like, is it an accountability issue? Is it an online learning issue? And until we get to that root cause, which I think a big part of it is accountability, we won't be able to fully answer the question. Those are the thoughts I would apply to this particular problem.
Thanks, Nate. Scott?
I don't think there's an easy answer. This is something that is going on across the nation. It's not just us, and no one else has figured out an answer for it yet. So I do think it's going to take some creative thinking on our part. What I would start off with is meeting the kids where they are. Like was already said, some people are doing very well and other people are really struggling. And I think we have to, now more than ever, individualize the lesson plans for different kids and try to meet them where they are. And some kids might need extra help, as in they might need summer school or something like that, or extra time to catch up. But once you fall behind, especially on things like math where it just builds on top of what you already know, it's just impossible to catch up. So I think it's really important that we try to hit this sooner rather than later, because as it festers, it's just going to get worse and worse for these students that were left behind. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Susan?
I think that post-pandemic, we have to really support the whole child. And when you talk to teachers about what it was like after the shutdown and then coming back hybrid and then everything changed, they started, friends who were teachers were telling me, they're all acting now 2-3 years younger than they used to act. They're coming into 9th grade and they're acting like 7th graders socially. They're just kind of not, because they lost some time there of the interaction and everything. So I think we can't pretend that the pandemic didn't happen. We can't, we can't just to say, well, let's just, move ahead and get rigorous again. While academic rigor is important, I think it's also really important, as Scott said, you've got to meet the kids where they're at. So I think that means you have to have support for kids who need it, and not every kid will need it equally, and that's fine. But we need to have school counselors and teachers who are, prepared to be flexible and really think about the needs of the whole child. Because if they're not secure and they're not growing socially in that way, I think they're going to struggle more academically. I think it just goes hand in hand.
Thanks, Susan. Sarah?
Yes, so I believe the pandemic did cause a lot of loss learning-wise and socially, like Susan said, which we do need to take that into consideration when we're coming up with new programs or different needs for certain kids. I think, like Scott said, that we need to catch them sooner rather than later, especially in the elementary levels, making sure they're getting RTI support if they need it, counseling wherever it's needed before they keep moving on and getting pushed through the system and being left behind. I think as well, those kids that don't need the support, we need to make sure we're also taking care of them because we don't want them to go backwards. I think it's important to keep those enrichment classes, the AP classes, and just still offering them the rigor that they need to prepare them for their future, whether they want to go on to college, a job, military, wherever it is, but we also don't want to be holding them back either. So we got to find a balance.
Thanks, Sarah. Emily?
Sure. So I also believe what mostly everyone up here has said. It's like repeating it. So at the elementary level, we have our MTSS, so our multiple tiered support systems, which is listening to experts, so listening to the teachers, but also listening to parents in partnership. They know their students better than maybe their student or their teacher, the student's teacher, as they are first coming into that classroom. So listening to all of the different voices, all of those important stakeholders. With regards to the students, creating more opportunities, like we have our ICOT, so our integrated co-teaching model at the elementary school, so providing those opportunities for students to get support within the classroom. I also agree we need to meet student needs, so socially as well as academically, so providing those opportunities for social emotional learning. And then also the opportunities for advancement, so those students who are gifted, providing those extra activities within the elementary as well as high school. And then making sure that we have challenge at the high school, so continuing our advanced placement, but also continuing supporting those who need it, as well as teaching student advocacy, so allowing the students or teaching the students to advocate for the things that they need. And also helping students begin to take ownership in their own learning. And so they are able to better kind of control and better get the things that they need, whether it be elementary, middle, and high school.
Thanks, Emily. James?
Can you repeat the question
Yes.
again? Thanks.
How should Penfield address pandemic-related learning loss while continuing to challenge students who are progressing at or above grade level? What is your commitment to supporting all students, including advanced and gifted students?
Yeah, so I'm heavily involved in the gifted and advanced side of the school, and I greatly understand the need for that. I think that gets overlooked quite a bit. As I stated last year, I was involved in bringing back double acceleration to the middle school, which is kind of taken off, and it served a lot of good students properly. But really, I think that there's two big things, right? To Susan's point about we're new testing and we're new grading and we're new this and we're new that, it's hard to see where we're tracking the data. Right? We need to stabilize, right? We're throwing grading for equity, we're throwing new testing, we're throwing new curriculum. So how do we know where we even stand if we haven't proven any of this stuff to see where we are at? Right? You need a baseline. I do look at a lot of the data, right? No, we can't compare 2020 to 2021 to 2022, but what we can do is compare it to neighboring districts. We can compare it to other districts in New York State. You know, the New York State's leveling ground for every district. Everybody follows basically New York State Education Department guidelines, curriculum, and so forth. We can see who's going up, who's increasing, what programs they're doing, what they're doing different, what they're doing better. Penfield and a neighboring district came out of COVID actually high. We didn't see the learning loss to the extent that a lot of districts have. And since then, other districts are gaining, catching up, and passing us in ranking in New York State. And I've said that numerous times. So identifying that is going to be identifying and stabilizing what we're doing is going to be key. Secondly, our teaching is our lowest increase in budget. We have to invest in teaching and in the classrooms. So properly adjusting the budget to support teachers in classrooms and those who act and help our kids day to day is key.
Thanks, James. Okay, moving on to the fifth question. We're going to begin with Scott. How should the district ensure safety and security for students and staff while also fostering a positive, inclusive school environment?
Okay. I think that it is important that we have safety for our kids, as everyone does. I know a recent hot topic is that one of our security guards will now carry a gun. That is not something I'm super excited about, honestly, but I think it may be necessary in the short term based on some recent events. I do think that we do an okay job at security during the school hours, but I do worry about after school hours, sporting events, after school activities, we don't have the same level of security, and I think that's something we need to address moving on. That may mean, increasing the budget for security so we have people that can do extended hours, but I think that's a big hole in our system right now that we have to address. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Susan?
I think that the district, of course, has made some changes very recently, and they had to do that pretty quickly. And I think they were wise and necessary changes. And so I think that was, and I think it was thoughtfully done, even though they had to move quickly. And I appreciate that very much. I think that the new safety and security coordinator seems fantastically qualified, and I really appreciate that they've hired him, Mr. Wilson. I would like to know, actually, I would like to hear from teachers what they want and need to feel more prepared in the event of an emergency. Because I think right now, of course, they do the lockdown drills in the schools, and that's important. But what would give teachers, what kind of training programs would maybe give teachers additional preparation beyond the lockdown drills that we do now? Is there equipment that they would like that would be useful? It feels like this should be a really high priority. I mean, I really want to hear from teachers on this. One teacher that I talked to said she's never taught in a district where she felt well prepared for an emergency. And the lockdown drills and the sheltering in place made her feel more like a target than anything, because you feel sort of helpless. So I think that it would be great to explore programs that could help teachers feel more secure and more prepared, and I think that would help morale a lot. I would love for Penfield to be a district where we lead the way in this and teachers feel more prepared, and I think students will also feel more prepared and will actually be more prepared.
Thanks, Susan. Sarah?
So obviously, I think prioritizing our teacher safety and student safety is huge. I do think, however, the recent decisions that we've made have been more of a reactive decision and not necessarily one that needed to be made. I know there was committees that were in talk of hiring a SRO to come into the schools and work with the staff and the teachers locally, a sheriff, which could have probably been more of a better option in my opinion. I think it was a little overreactive, the cost, and then we also have to weigh in the cost of a third-party security service. And I don't know about you guys, we all came to Penfield for the schools. I find it very disturbing that we have to walk into a board meeting with metal detectors and armed guards. That's not why I came to this community. I don't think it needs to be that way. I think we can all be grown adults and, like I said, learn to agree to disagree and do what's best for our children and put them first.
Thanks, Sarah. Emily?
I think no one wants to make a reactive decision. We always want to be responsive, right? So making sure we're meeting the needs of everyone, so that includes everyone's safety and security. The recent decision was a reactive one. It was something that was made that we felt was important to make sure that everyone was safe, regardless if it were in a school building, after school, at a board meeting, wherever that is, right? We want to make sure that our students feel safe. I think recent events made us realize that we needed to build up our infrastructure, and so that is what is currently happening. I also feel that it is important to include the community, and that is something that we are looking at doing when we talk about next year and the future as to what everyone would like that to look like. I think those are really important. No student can really focus and pay attention when they don't feel safe. So it's really important that we add on the different layers that are important to make sure that our students are able to come into the building. They have their supports that they need, and they are able to do their job, which is to learn to the best of their ability. Thank you.
Thanks, Emily. James?
Yeah, so this is an awkward question considering we're sitting in a room with 7 security guards right now, and one of them is carrying a gun. To get into this room, I had to go through a metal detector, which cost the district a lot of money. We had to get wanded. I had to get emptied. We came last time. They were emptying women's purses and going through their wallets. None of that's necessary. I live in this community. I know these people. And I get it, right? People get scared and people react. But that does not excuse having closed-door meetings, flipping board policy, precedent, history, culture, our reputation on its head. That's going to be blunt. The policy was changed to protect the kids, the students, and the teachers. There's no students, teachers, or kids in this room. The Board of Education has all the security. If there's an extracurricular event, there's no security there. So when we say we want to protect the kids and we're all about safety of teachers, kids, and students, this is the only room that's protected on campus. As I drove through hundreds of kids out in the fields, 100 kids on the other side, this is the only room. That's a giant waste of money. There's been precedent before. This is not a new event. Back, I believe it was 2019, 2020, there was a credible threat. We worked with the Monroe County Sheriff's Department, and they did an excellent job. Right? When we talk about using money responsibly, when we bring in a company, they're not invested in this community. They don't know this community. When you talk about the value, when a sheriff enters a school, that's not just there to protect. They're there to educate. They're there to support. They can support outside of school hours, outside of school walls. I worked on the security committee with Brandon Fox. They had an excellent plan, and he was doing an excellent job to move us forward. And I don't know why we let outsiders come into our district and change who we are and the culture of our district.
Thanks, James. Nate?
Yeah, there's two ways to react, and you can end up on either end of a spectrum that doesn't have to be so polarized and so binary. You could react and say we've got too much security and it's a waste of money. You could react and say we made the right decision very quickly and we've ended up with a lot of security. We don't have to be so quick anymore. We can take the time to make a good decision. We can understand, hey, exactly what is going on out there. What is the optimal security profile for us? That looks like a lot of the things that we've been talking about. Maybe we need to establish a security committee if one does not already exist. If there is a security committee, let's make sure that we're really making use of that resource and those voices from the community. Scott mentioned security for extracurricular activities, as did James. I'm going to give you an example of a reactive method of dealing with that, and then what I would propose, which is a more comprehensive fact-finding method. I'm one of the boosters for high school sports for the Nordic ski team. I went to a booster club meeting, and a very credible source let us know that they were unhappy with the amount of security at extracurricular activities. I know that I don't have all the facts. I'm certainly not at every extracurricular activity. I could give anecdotes saying there's no security. I could give anecdotes saying there's plenty of security. I want to find all of the facts, work together with the board, and make a good decision about what the right level of security is, because it is almost certainly somewhere in between two ends of a very wide spectrum.
Thanks, Nate. Okay, for our final question for the evening, we're going to begin with Susan. What do you see, Susan, as the most pressing challenge facing the Penfield Central School District, and how would you address them? Whom would you consult to inform your decisions?
Wow, big question for last. The first thing I think of is teachers. Several people have mentioned, we need to be drawing and keeping the best teachers in our district. And I think I have been honestly blown away by the quality of the teachers that our kids have had. They've been, by and large, fantastic. And I think that if I wish that the board did get to decide teacher salaries, because I would give a big old raise across the board. I honestly think we need to look at how we can encourage that to happen. Unfortunately, the board doesn't get to sit in on those negotiations. That's on the union reps, and hopefully teachers can talk to union reps and encourage them to do their best to advocate for them. I think that's a big issue. And I think that teachers also have been really overloaded in some ways. I think specials teachers, so librarians, art teachers, gym teachers, the people who do the specials, have gotten really loaded up since COVID and since things changed, and I think that's been almost not sustainable for some people. And so I would really like to hear a lot more from teachers on this, and what can we do to really support teachers. And I mean, they're the front line, right? They're where it all happens, and so that's what I would think about.
Thanks, Susan. Sarah?
Can you repeat?
Yes.
Thanks.
What do you see as the most pressing challenge facing the Penfield Central School District, and how would you address the challenge or challenges? Whom would you consult to inform your decisions?
So I think the most pressing challenge is right now our academics with the equitable grading policy. Like I mentioned, I think it's not doing any service to our children as far as helping them prepare them for the future. I think it's allowing them to not be motivated to do things that they need to be learning. It's lowering the standards in inflating grades. The people that I would ask first and foremost is our teachers. They're the ones that are seeing our children day in and day out. They know how our students are performing on tests. They know where their challenges are, what they need help with. And those are the people who we should be going to right now and leading the forefront of changing this policy if it can be changed. So our teachers, like I said, are our backbone, and they are the ones that we need to go to right now and learn from them.
Thanks, Sarah. Emily, same question?
Sure. So I believe one of the most pressing challenges facing the Penfield School District right now would be misinformation and misconceptions. I believe, actually, I was talking to a Boy Scout, and he was asking about everything, recent events, and what are some of the challenges. And I think some of the challenges, just like everyone has said, is that there is so much noise from everyone, right? Everyone feels strongly about their own opinions, but at the end of the day, we do need to come together and work through all of these misconceptions as a community, all of the hurt, all of the challenges that we are facing right now. And one of the people that we really can consult along with our staff and our faculty would be our students. Students have many different ideas, fresh, new ideas as to how we can work together. They can be our role models in a sense, because students work with many different people on a day-to-day basis. And seeing that in the classroom, they work together collaboratively. They work through issues. They learn how to talk to each other. So I think bringing our students to the table and asking ways that they feel we could use to bring the community together would be important. And then we can focus on all of our other important values, and because we kind of went back to what is most important, and that is working with and learning from our students.
Thanks, Emily. James?
I'm going to take kind of a different approach. There's a lot of issues and a lot of great things going on in Penfield, but I think one word actually kind of brings our challenge to light, and I think it's trust, right? I think there's a lack of trust between the community and our leadership. I think there's a lack of trust between our community, our leadership and our community, right? It goes both ways. I think there's a lack of trust between the teaching staff, the day-to-day staff, the leadership, the parents and the teachers, right? We've heard about that after the pandemic. Do parents trust the teachers? I think we need to get back to trusting each other, that we're all, as many people have said, doing what is best for the students. We got to trust that the budget is putting the money where it is to invest in what we need to get done. First, obviously, educating the students, supporting them in any way they need, We need to trust that the grades reflect the actual work. We need to trust that the schools are going to be safe. We need to be able to trust that when there's problems that teachers are reaching out or teachers are being supported by their leadership and they're being supported by their leadership, right? I wrote a bunch of things here and they all centered around just being able to trust each other again.
Thanks, James. Nate?
I think that a big challenge that not only Penfield schools, but schools across the country and maybe even across the world have is the emotional health of the students. If we don't have students who are feeling emotionally at peace in a safe environment, trusted, supported, without misinformation, I could touch on everything that everybody's already mentioned here, it's going to be really hard for them to perform in any aspect of a education that really supports the whole child. That's a big area of focus for me. I think that's one of the reasons I've been talking about trying to make sure we look at everything on a spectrum rather than in a binary sense where there's a right answer and a wrong answer, like we're probably somewhere in between. I'll give some specific examples here of how I think the district is doing a really good job with this. There's a cell phone committee. Why is this important right now? Like, why is this coming up in a discussion about the biggest challenges? Are cell phones the biggest challenge? I'm not sure they're the biggest challenge, but they're out there as a challenge. And there's a lot of emotional angst out there that children today they have problems that at least I never had growing up. They can access one another all the time, and that can be a good thing and that can be a dangerous thing. And the district has put in place a big cell phone committee to address those issues. That's how I would work through these things. How can we get ahead of a problem that is going to either increase in magnitude or remain truly problematic for the students? Cell phones is one of those examples, but the emotional health of the students, we have to support that or we're not going to be able to attain our other goals. I think those committees, and they should incorporate students, teachers, faculty members, everybody in the district, are an important way to work through those challenges.
Thanks, Nate. Scott?
Overall, I think that Penfield's doing a rather good job. I don't think we have any immediately pressing issues. I think that, at least that's from the point of view of an outsider, I think that we should talk to the teachers and talk to the students and find out what's most important to them and address those problems as needed. I do think something like the cell phone topic is a great topic. There have been studies that show that more access to phones and social media actually is very detrimental to the mental health of adolescents. There was also a study that came out just this month in The Lancet that said that keeping cell phones from students during school hours actually doesn't seem to improve outcomes at all. Now, they did say that maybe if you add home, restrictions that might, but just school by itself is not. So I think we have to look into these kind of topics and address them. Also, as someone who likes to dabble in things, I do like to dabble in economics a little bit, and I do worry about, I think we have some difficult economic forces going on right now that might come in the near future, and I worry about our budgeting over the next couple of years and maybe having to make some cutbacks. I'm worried about that a little bit, and I do think that we need to be very agile and ready to make some changes if needed. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Okay, we've come to the end of the question and answer portion of the program. Each candidate will now have an opportunity to make a closing statement of not more than 2 minutes. And as I mentioned earlier, those summations will be made in the reverse order from the opening statements. So, Susan, we're going to start with you.
And let me just say first that I've learned a lot from everyone here tonight. Thank you very much. This has been really valuable. In the past number of weeks, I've been immersing myself in learning as much about our district as I can. Honestly, it's been fascinating. I already knew a lot firsthand from a parent's point of view, and I've been hearing the students' point of view for years from my kids and their friends. But there's a lot I would not have known if I hadn't asked. I've been talking to teachers and administrators and other parents, as well as community members who don't currently have kids in the district, but who still care because this school district is the heart of Penfield. Every conversation has been both enlightening and has raised a whole lot more questions that I'm still exploring. I've said a lot throughout my campaign so far about being a listener, and I absolutely mean that. but I'm something else too. My husband will confirm this if you ask. I'm a problem solver since long before we had kids. In fact, we adopted both our kids, and anyone who's been on the adoption journey knows that it takes a lot of problem solving and persistence. Nothing has sharpened my problem-solving skills since, like parenting, because parenting throws you curveballs at every age, some wonderful, some challenging. When parenting throws you a curveball, it helps to have family, it helps to have friends, it helps to have a doctor who will call you back in the middle of the night. And it really, really helps to have a strong school system who cares about the whole child, from academics to peanut allergies. I want to be part of the team that ensures that our kids all have the best education, great opportunities at athletics, music, robotics, and art, and have school and community role models that teach them how to be caring, responsible citizens. I hope you'll vote for me and give me that chance, but regardless, it's been an absolute honor and a pleasure to get to know so many of you. Thank you.
Thanks, Susan. Scott?
Thank you to everyone here today and everyone at home that took the time to watch this. I know that everyone is busy with work, family, and the everyday stresses of life, but each of you know the importance of civic engagement and being an informed voter. I also want to congratulate everyone who's here today running for school board, as it demonstrates their commitment to our community. I know that I would be a valuable member to the Penfield School Board. While I have some history with teaching, I believe it will be my experience as a family physician that may add unique insight to an already strong board. I see a lot of discussion about helping our students reach ever higher academic standards, and rightfully so, but it is also important to take a holistic approach with every child, meeting them where they are and doing what we can to improve not only their scores, but also their confidence and emotional well-being. As a member of the board, we must always ask ourselves, what is best for our students, our teachers, and our community? As long as we keep this question at the forefront of our thoughts, then we will always be doing the right thing. I am running for the school board because I believe in Penfield and I believe in our children. On May 20th, I hope that you will consider voting for me. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Nate?
I'm going to skip my prepared statement and focus on a part of my platform that didn't really come up during the questions today, and that's the budget piece. That was actually number one on my platform, and it was number one even before I talked to my neighbor. For those that don't know, we go out and get at least 56 signatures on a petition to even be able to sit up here. So it proves everybody's commitment, and I'm grateful that everybody put that time in. My neighbor came up and said, "What are you going to do about the budget?" And I said, I don't know what I'm going to do about the budget because I need to understand the budget first. I bring that strategic perspective to the board, and I am absolutely not trying to say that the board sets the budget without that strategic perspective, but I think I can help, and here's why. This is how it works. The budget that we set, as many of us set our own family budgets, it's important to build a budget that focuses on the future. And some of the decisions that I have seen clients of mine, friends of mine, family members of mine make, they're optimizing a budget for this year, or even this quarter, or this month in some cases for clients in my professional life. I think oftentimes that can be a bit short-sighted, and I know I plan on living in Penfield for a long time. We can make decisions that are a good investment in the future. Maybe that looks like spending 5 or 10% more this year in order to save 40 or 50% 5 to 7 years from now. Maybe that's actually, in a particular case, a terrible idea, but that's the perspective that I want to bring to the budget specifically. We got to talk about my other 2 points pretty effectively, which are extracurricular activities and an open communicative environment, which we went through, but I wanted to make sure we didn't miss the budget point before we wrapped up. Thanks very much for hosting and being here.
Thanks, Nate. James?
I just want to reiterate, I'm running for the Penfield Board of Education to restore academic excellence, rebuild trust through transparent communication, and ensure responsible, student-focused decision-making. As a parent and a leader, I believe in high standards, clear accountability, and strong partnerships with families and schools. I will always listen, respect differing viewpoints, and work tirelessly to put Penfield's children first. Last year, I said I wanted to do this again. I will not make that same mistake this year. While I will continue, no matter the outcome, to advocate for Penfield students, teachers, TAs, nurses, admins, IT personnel, bus drivers, bus mechanics, and so on, I would rather begin the work on the board. Thank you.
Thanks, James. Emily?
Sure. First, thank you, Amy and Lynn, and everyone working behind the scenes tonight. It has been an honor to serve our students, our families, faculty, and staff. I am proud of the progress that we've made and ready to continue working hard to ensure that every child has the opportunity to thrive. I humbly ask for your support and your vote so that we can continue moving forward together. Good luck to everyone up here, and I look forward to seeing everyone on May 20th. Thank you.
Sarah.
Thank you all for taking the time to be here tonight and be part of this important conversation. I'm running for the school board not because I have all of the answers, but because I care deeply as a parent, as a community member, and as someone who believes every child deserves the very best education that we can give them. My focus is on 3 core priorities: academic excellence, fiscal responsibility, and transparency. I want to see our students challenged, supported, and excited about learning. I want to make sure we're spending our budget wisely and putting resources where they make the most impact right into the classroom. And I believe that the families and community members deserve to be in the loop on decision making. We all deserve a seat at the table and a clear understanding of how and why choices are being made. I know that strong schools are the foundation of a strong community. When we invest in education thoughtfully and responsibly, we invest in our kids' future. And that means working together, listening to parents, supporting our teachers, and always keeping the students at the forefront. It's about the people, our kids, our educators, our community. I'm here to listen, to ask the right questions, and to work hard to make a real difference. I'd be honored to earn your trust and your vote.
Thanks, Sarah. So that's it for our presentation this evening. A reminder to those that are watching this evening that the budget vote and school board election is Tuesday, May 20th from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. at the Penfield High School West Gym, 25 High School Drive. Thank you so much for watching and have a great night.